Dr. Sharonda coming in live.
What's going on, people? It's been a minute.
And here we are. So I'm
Don't mind me, y'all. I gotta feed the alcohol. These two here, they could go, but I'm a lightweight, so.
okay.
So, welcome back to Who the Cat Fits. And I'm sure y'all can figure out what that means, but
And are we calling this an interview? Only because you guys have your own thing that you have, and I'm live on mine also.
This is a real live conversation.
Okay.
We can call it whatever you want to call it.
Well, who do we have here?
We got, yeah. Make sure you use the DR, not the Dominican Republic either.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sharonda.
You're a doctor in what?
Psychology.
Okay. So that fits what we're doing today. I am T. That's what y'all know me as, and that's what we're gonna leave it at. Nosy ass.
And
my sister.
I'm Fat Boy. So here we go. This is unfiltered, unadulterated, and if the shoe fits or who the cat fits, wear it.
Let them wear it.
So this conversation is about I guess I want to say a mother's love or lack thereof. Might be a little touchy, but that's what we're here for. Without going into too much detail, I'll say this. I've got an understanding of just how deep a mother loves go. And to me, there's no greater love than a mother's love. A mother's going to love her kids through it all, no matter what it is. But with that being said, I feel when it comes to discipline, chastisement, or whatever you want to call it, there's got to be a happy medium. There's abuse, there's tough love, and then there's discipline. And y'all forgive me, but I have to be who I am. And I think these two ladies right here, because I got an understanding of what motherhood is from watching these two ladies. And then going through what I've gone through as a youth with my own mother. First of all, as a man, I can't speak to being a daughter because I'm not that. But as a man, as a young boy, the first love you ever know in your life is your mother. And I feel that as you come to adulthood, young adulthood, teenagers, your mother is going to or supposedly protect you from any and everything. That's what mothers do.
Or supposed to do.
Supposed to do. Okay. And I used to have a hard time as I gotten older. I had a hard time with mothers being their children's friends until I thought about my youth. And now I have a different understanding because as a young man who, I'll say this, if you can't trust your mother, you will never trust any woman in your life.
I want to interject. Earlier, when you first started talking, you said something along the lines of deciphering through chastisement, abuse,
What's
and
that?
and something else. But my question would be to you is who gets to determine what is what? Whether it be
The mother or the child?
right.
Right.
Well, you don't necessarily run into the definition of it until you get older. Because when you're young, you don't fully understand what's going on. You don't have that clarity. You understand what I'm saying? Um, you know, when you young, you know, so I'm old school. When you're young, your parents call it tough love. You know,
Some parents.
some, okay, they call it tough love. But when as you get older and you realize what it really is, some may call it abuse.
Well, so then some for me is how you experience it. And
Right,
so you
right.
experience some interactions with your parent as abusive, and some people would say that it was tough love, and some people would say it's just discipline. But it depends on the person and
There's
what
a,
your expectations were as a mom or as a child.
but there's a difference in all three.
But that was my question. Who gets to determine what that
Right,
difference is, right? Because
right,
you can
Yeah.
have a parent who is showing tough love and but for the child it may seem like abuse.
right.
Well, again, when you're young, the parent's going to get to determine what it is because you don't know no better. Now, you might think, you may have your own thoughts as a child coming up. But when you get older and you have your own kids, that's when you begin to understand exactly what you went through as a child.
So that means that that was your experience.
Right.
Right.
And that's
Right.
let me be clear because this is why I said I think these two ladies because I watch and I see, the relationships with their children and then I think about the relationships when I came up. See, there's different levels, if I can see
Or
that.
different types of
Different types,
relationships.
right?
Right.
You see, my mother was the disciplinarian of the family, right? My father was the backup plan. He made sure things didn't get, for the most part, disrespectful or too crazy, right? But today, when I watch you two in y'all relationships, I wish that I had my mother as a home girl. You understand what I'm saying? I wish I had that type of relationship.
So that is twofold because I have two sons, three if you count my nephew. That was a big part, or I played a big part in raising my nephew.
Right.
So I have the same relationship from me with the three of them. Shit, even my nephew, my sister's son. So with the four of them, I have the same relationship from me with them, but each one of them view it differently.
Right.
Exactly.
Two, maybe because they know that I'm not their biological mom, but they know that the love is not different. And so no matter what, They are open, honest about what's happening, what's going on, because I need to know the truth. Because I'm gonna go down fighting with you. We not gonna lay down and do nothing, but I'm gonna get on you about what you're doing, whether it's right, wrong, or whether I agree with it or not. And so I will go, but I'm not going to argue and fight with. At this point, everybody, they're all grown men. They're adults. So my experience is different than theirs. Um, but there are some expectations of what should be done and how things should be done and what things should look like.
All right, so let me ask you this: but do you see all of your sons as men now?
I do. I do. I respect them as men. I call on them when there is, and I have my own, but I call on my sons and my nephews when it's time that I need something that you don't mind hurting my feelings because I know that it's coming from a place of love. I can call them and ask, well, why would how you feel about this and how you feel about that, just different things that they've experienced and how they felt about it. And they can openly tell me, Ma, that was some nonsense. Like you didn't have to do that. Or from time to time I even get the you loved or cared or did more for another one, stuff like that. But that's their experience. And I
Right,
did the same for everybody. If I
right,
didn't do what you wanted me to do, you should ask. I would have did it. That's
right.
one thing
See,
I have a hard time saying no to my
communication,
children,
communication,
but I will say no, but I can admit that I have a hard time saying no.
and that's. What about you? How you feel?
Well, I feel um, it's evident that how you were raised or what your experience was determines how you parent your children. And you can probably speak more to my situation as my older sister and me being the baby, because for whatever reason, I feel like I'm more clingy to my son and not allowing him to be an adult. Like I'm so overprotective, and I don't know, is that does it
Well,
come from the way I
it
was raised, or does it come? But I don't. I want
so
he's a young adult, and I want him to be an adult. But I fear that sometimes it's stifling for him.
it is sometimes it can definitely be stifling. I can admit that it can be stifling. And the if we want them to be men, then they have to experience things that men experience. And one of the things that I did, because my children's dad moved into a different state and then he passed away. Um, and so I kept them in football and karate and whatever else they enjoyed doing, where
Crazy.
there were, yeah, where there was male leadership. And so they understood how to pay attention. They got a lot of lessons that way that I totally understood that I can teach them right from wrong. I can teach them how to be a good person. I can instill good character in them, but I was not ever going to be able to teach them how to
All
be
right.
a man.
So it's safe to say that your sons trusted you
Yes, my sons
as
did trust
mothers.
me.
They trusted that what you were giving was protection.
Yes, I can say as they got older, and so this is one of the things that is very um can I call it prominent? I don't know, but it's happening a lot nowadays because of social media. And I'm not going to blame anything on social media, but I'm going to say, and it's even going to be worse with the people that are coming up. We're going to stick to our age and our experiences. But what happens is when people have different or are introduced to different experiences, ideas, opinions, perceptions, perspectives, all of those things that they're introduced to, then they say, hey, I didn't get that. I didn't have that. My mother wasn't this. My mom wasn't that. And I would have liked to have that. And so then that's when sometimes they feel like they've been slighted, because what happens is in your house is what happens in your house. And as a kid, and I think this is what you were leaning towards, in your home, you think that's the norm until you see
See
something
something
different. And
different.
you're like, oh,
Hey,
wait a minute, I didn't get that, or I didn't do
right,
that. And
right.
so in every home, there will be things that
Yeah.
have been missing, because each of us have our own experiences, and we share those, and we use those experiences to help guide us into parenting, because as we all know, there is no rule book to parenting.
There's no blueprint,
None
you
at
know.
all.
And that's why I felt like I could forgive my parents, because there is no blueprint. They did, so I thought, the best they could do. Right.
Until you thought they could have did better.
Right.
And
As
so
I got older,
and
I was like, hold on.
wait a minute. So I'm gonna stop right here and just throw my little pitch in, because
Yeah, go ahead.
I take issue with that, with having adult. So hopefully I don't look like it, but my oldest I'm gonna say 38, 36, and 32 are the two that I had a
Say
strong
that.
hand in raising. Right. And so as it stands now, when somebody tells me that I did something wrong or did something that they didn't like, sorry, sir, I did what I could, and I did what I was able
The
to,
best
and
you
I
knew
did it
how.
with love. And if it wasn't enough, that's not my problem. That's yours. And so you have to deal with it.
All
And
right.
I wash my hands with it.
Cool.
Sorry.
Cool.
But you still recognize.
I do
when they-
recognize it. I do
when
recognize
they
it. I'm
bring
sorry
it to
that,
you.
yeah, I
Right.
do recognize it.
You
It's
don't make
sorry
no
that,
excuses.
but I don't make excuses.
You own it.
I know what I did,
All right.
and I know what. If I'm sorry that I didn't realize that was your. And it's crazy though, because definitely for my two biological children, um, their experiences are different. So
Mm-hmm.
the same way with you, was it me and you or me and Jerry that was talking about mommy? So and when we're in the house, like when we were growing up, certain experiences that my sister and I had, we didn't have the same perspective, or we didn't receive the experience the same way. So with some things that I felt like was, oh my God, that was so much fun. I had the greatest mom in the world, and
And she
couldn't
may have
tell her
felt different.
nothing. Right. You
Yeah.
couldn't tell me nothing about my
Right.
mom, and I
Right.
was scared, and I would run from her, and yeah, because
Exactly.
I discipline. Well, and what a lot of people don't know or recognize is that their children, as children, and I think even as adult, they want their parents to be proud of what they're doing. And so when you are growing up, you try to do things that are pleasing to your parents or with your parents.
But here's the thing. And before I go on my rant, how do you feel about what she just said?
Well, I agree with her because I didn't know until we were adults and we could have these conversations and be in a full understanding about life. And now that we're parents, we can see things different, what our mother and father may have done that we agree with or didn't agree with. But I didn't know until we were adults that we didn't have the same experience, you know?
Boom.
So,
Boom. Respect.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, see, if I break it down, and I won't get too technical, but I got at least 13 of us. Now, it's not all biological, but I don't step on nothing but stairs. You understand what I'm saying? And I'll say this. We all have become distant, either because of the way we were brought up, the things that happened, and I won't elaborate, but if we all sat at the same table, we would all pretty much have the same experience. And the one question we would all ask is, why did that happen the way that it happened? You see, and then now that I'm a man of a certain age, I'm 54. So now I
I'm
got
not telling my age.
I got my own question. You know, I got my own question. And because I'm a man of a certain stature, I'm able to sit my parents down and say, hey, what was this about? Why did this? Why did that? And all you if all you can give me is what happened to you, now I get it. Cause like I said, you know, you do what you see most times. But what happened to let me be different than what I been through? What happened to that part? Because just because you had a messed up childhood don't mean you get to be an asshole to yours.
Right. Well, I have something to say with that. You can't pick and choose, or you shouldn't pick and choose on what you decide that you're going to change and how somebody is going to decide what they're going to change. With that being said, um, you see some children that have parents that are a certain way, and those children grow up to say, I don't want to be like that, and I'm going to change. I'm going to be different because I didn't like how that looked. I didn't like how it felt. I didn't like that experience. And so they turn around and intentionally do the opposite. So it's hard to kind of judge on why somebody won't do something different if you still turn around and do the same thing, some of the same things that they did that you didn't like. So I guess it's just a matter of choice.
Well, here's the thing. You can tell yourself all you want that I'm going to be different, but certain things are like DNA. They're imprinted in you. And as hard as you want to try to be different, what you know is what you know. And we often, kids are sponges. So what they see, they pick up. And ultimately, when they grow, it's what they see and what they've learned from their superiors that they tend to emulate.
Right.
And I was one of those kids. And, I can't speak for the rest of my brothers and sisters. I'm talking about me. You understand what I'm saying? The trust that I should have had for women, and I'm gonna go there, right? The trust that I should have had for people, I didn't have because I didn't trust my own upbringing, if that makes sense. It's different today, right? It's different today because I know the difference. And I was determined to bring up my
Sorry,
children
y'all.
without the hiccups. I'll just say hiccups that I came up with, And now when I say I thank you two for what I see is with my kids, we're friends.
Hmm.
We're friends. Now,
But you still a dad.
that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
They understand that it's only so far dad gonna allow me to go.
Hmm.
But here's the thing, even with your son, my son, if I ever had to lay hands, I came with a reason. I didn't just do what I did and said, now this is what it is, deal with it. This is why this happened. And I need you to understand that I'm not dealing with that.
So let me ask you, if you just what you just said was that sometimes the behaviors that we see when we grow up with is implanted in us, it's in our DNA, and we sometimes emulate that, whether intentional or non-intentional, right? So then when you go to your not you particular, but when a person goes to their parent and asks those questions why, and if that's the reason that they give, are you uh, strong enough to accept that and move on, or are you looking for something else?
Here's what I say. Again, there's a difference, and I'll lead with this. There's abuse, and then there's discipline. Okay? And in my eyes, this is just my opinion. You can't sit and tell me as a parent, I love you, I love you, I love you, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, put your foot in my rear end. Right? If that makes sense.
Mm.
Right? Because to me, when I'm young, it's
That's what
like you
love
said,
is.
you ran, right?
Mm.
So I got called a runner.
Mhm.
But you ain't finna keep putting.
But so the opposite. I knew I was doing some bullshit, and I was about to get my. I was about to get it because my mother didn't play it, and so I would run and hide,
Right?
and so that was me, even at a young age, knowing that what I was doing was not okay, and discipline does not have to be physical. I just didn't want to get caught.
That part.
I didn't want to get caught stuck in the
That
room
part.
because when we grew up, we went outside and played.
You,
So I didn't want to get caught stuck in a room and can't watch
I
TV.
totally agree.
Even though I like reading books, after a while I want to see some people. Like I got a day or two. It's gonna take me a good book is gonna take a day, maybe two.
Here's
But
the
I
thing.
can't sit in the house all week.
So was I a good kid, or did I do that because I never got chastised or disciplined? So what was that?
She took it
You
for
was the
you.
baby, yeah, and I did.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
and that's what I'm
yeah.
going into that next.
Yeah,
Right?
so you were the baby, and I did. If something happened, I take the blame because, as protective as I am of my sons, I was of my little sister, so I learned that early.
Right.
So and then it got to a point where you know what, she didn't even make sure you don't. It almost became the norm.
Yeah.
Like she don't get it.
Your turn.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I got it.
So
Yeah.
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, no, because I didn't view it as abuse.
Well,
I knew we was doing. I knew
well,
throwing rocks in people's,
here's
throwing
the
rocks
thing.
and dirt in people.
I don't
washing
know. I don't
machine.
know what happened in your household.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna call what happened in my household, and I hope it's past the statute of limitations. Because again, I'm 54.
yeah.
I'm gonna call it
They
abuse.
they can't call
right?
the people now.
But I get it, right? Because I do believe you're supposed to have a healthy fear of your parents. Healthy. That means if I disrespect my mother or my father, there's a consequence. And today that don't exist. Today it's like, oh,
Well,
some people,
right, for some
right?
people. So it also depends on your parenting style because I can say for one, my adult children, for the most part, unless one of them is super mad, I'm not hearing nothing.
Yeah, because
If
they know you got a mean right hook.
Yeah,
But that's what I'm saying.
But
it's a healthy fear.
It is, and then one of them, they just will stay away until they get over it, and then we could talk about it. Because I did always teach my children how to communicate. Like we're not gonna sit there and cry and whine and do that. What's the matter? I need to know so we can work it out. We're not doing that. We're not fighting in the house. None of that stuff.
The way I was raised was, if you have an opinion, I give it to you.
Yeah, no, I do remember Rock used to tell me that they kids, they don't have no opinion.
Right.
No, they're little people, they do have an opinion. Well, we don't have to agree and we don't have to follow it, but they do have an opinion.
But the lines of communication ain't always a ass whooping.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And not for nothing, I think I probably learned that early because my youngest son, I pop him on his butt and he said, I ain't even hurt anyway. And so, what's the whole point?
Yeah.
Yes. They ain't hurt. Yeah. And I'm like, what else I'm supposed to do? So I actually learned from my children that it didn't have to be that.
Yeah. But I'm talking about, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about as a parent, disrespecting your kids to me, regardless of what age they are, because disrespect goes in many channels, is it just ain't right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there should always be a line. Now, there's a healthy fear, and then there's a fear, right? You ain't supposed to be knocking your kids upside the head in school lunchrooms and Walmarts and Kmarts and Sears. You ain't supposed to be bloody in they noses. You ain't
No, I bang Richard up in the mall and cuss some people out. 'Cause what are you looking at? He gonna run off in his mall and somebody gonna snatch him off. And I punched his leg so hard that he couldn't walk. I had to
you punched
drag
his
him
leg
back.
though.
I punched his leg,
See,
and I had to drag him back to where I was.
did you punch him in the nose?
No, I wouldn't punch him in the nose.
Well, this is
No.
what I'm saying. So I ain't
have
trying to go down.
as a mom, and even growing up, if me and Nick only had one fight, but fighting my sister, I wouldn't punch her in the face because she's still my sister.
Hold up.
I gotta look at that.
You fought my wife?
I'll
see you later after
no,
this
it
camera
it,
go
it
off.
wasn't a real fight. It wasn't even a real fight. It was actually it was more. It wasn't even physical. Mostly, I think we ended up hugging and crying.
You know what's crazy, and to touch on that, me and my brothers and sisters that dealt with what we dealt with are so tight now, but it's an unspoken conversation, and I hope they forgive me for this, but we old now, and it's time to address the elephant in the room. And I've had folks say, I hope I can have conversations with this one and that one, and but
so,
you're not ready.
So my opinion on the conversation is you don't want the conversation.
Nah.
Not at your age.
Nah.
Because your children are adults. So now if we're talking about the things that I did, now you have some adulthood under your belt. And so now I can start judging you because I was your age when I was doing that mess.
But here's what I'm saying.
So now that you have an opinion about what I'm doing, now we can talk about what you're doing that is not okay. And so I'm not having that conversation. Sorry.
Here's what
not
I'm
being
saying.
accountable is one thing, and no, if I have to be accountable, we're all going to be accountable.
But and that's fine. That's fine, because I've always stood on business with what I did, right? Because what I did was, even when I was running through the streets, I always protected home. Even though I felt the way I felt in my heart, I always tried to make sure home didn't get what I was doing out there, right? So if you're going to say to me, you ready for a conversation, then when it's time for me to talk, you ought to be ready to and stop coming with, well, I did this because that's not what I'm asking you. I ain't asking you why you did it. I'm just trying to tell you how I felt, and you don't get to tell me how I feel.
Right. So we do.
So you gotta, if you're not willing to,
are valid.
Yeah. Because when you start getting to protecting yourself, now I'm like, what's really good? Are you trying to grow, or are you trying to just continue to deflect what it is that I'm putting down? You understand what I'm saying?
So my youngest son told me, he said, Mom, you didn't teach us good study habits, because he was having a hard time when he was in college, and he was like, you didn't teach us good study habits. I said, no, I didn't. I wasn't hard on you about things. That I told you what you needed to do to get the outcome that you wanted.
Right.
And I allowed you to make the decision to do. And so my lesson wasn't do what I say. It's I'm teaching you the lesson that there is certain steps in a process. If there's something you want, you have to walk the path, and you have to stay on the path.
Right.
You can't get off the path and think that something I can do is gonna help you on your path. Yeah. I can only support you, and I can only direct you. And if I give the recommendations are not what you want, then, and again, it's the same son that the popping him didn't hurt, spanking him didn't bother him. He didn't mind, so he would just kind of go take a nap and wake up
Right.
like nothing
No.
ever happened.
See, I
Yeah.
got the if
Oh,
Johnny.
by the way, we all
got-
Geminis
yeah,
over here.
I got the if Johnny got 5 apples and I eat 2, wrapping the belt around the knuckles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How many apples?
I can say I was lucky in that sense because my children are 4 years apart, and my oldest son is smart. He's sharp as a tack. So I say, help your brother with his homework, and I would just pay attention.
Right.
But when I was in college, I would make them sit down and read my stuff to me.
Right.
And so they were learning that, like, it's certain things that you want to do. If you want a certain outcome, it's certain things that you need to do. And I taught them certain level of like connected, we're connected one way or
Yeah.
another.
It's
So
gotta
we're helping
be.
each other.
It's gotta be a happy medium, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't just because the last thing I've heard. This is what I've heard. If you want your kids to take care of you when you're old, you got to take care of them when they're young. Point blank. Because the only way to not end up in the old folks' home, and we know what they do. I ain't talking about, everybody, but I'm not going to deal with disrespect. And you have to begin to see your kids. I don't care if you're their mother. If you can't see your kids when they become adults, as adults, you're going to lose every time.
So let's talk about now forgiveness. Right?
Wait, before we go on to that, because I want to address what he just said. So when you look at your children, especially as adults, if they say something to you and they are angry, especially with knowing our children, knowing having the experiences that we have, as the experience that comes with having adult children, if they can't be angry and speak to you in a way, um, or to tell you something that might not be likable, favorable to you, then there's also a problem because
Mm-mm.
so you can speak to me if you're angry. How you speak to me?
It's
So
all
speaking
about how.
to me, right? So
I'll give
so
you an example.
I wouldn't say that telling me something that I did that you didn't like, or I wouldn't call it disrespect. Disrespect is calling names, and
No,
that to me is disrespect.
here's a funny thing, right? My middle son, to me, to him, I'm nigga, right? But I don't get up in the uproar because that's the way he talk. Nigga, listen, nigga this, nigga that, nigga. He don't call me dad. He don't, but I don't be like, hey, motherfucker, look. If you know why? Cause I don't take it to heart. He ain't talking to me. He ain't calling me a nigga. He talking like he talked to everybody else. And I could be like, hey man, I'm your father. I'm gonna fuck you up. He's not this to me. Now a lot of people will be like, that's disrespectful.
Right, but so no, what you were saying being disrespectful to your parents. So I can say that I've experienced some disrespect, but
Yeah.
what would be disrespectful? So I don't feel like if you're saying something to me out of anger or because you're angry, that could just automatically be disrespectful. So disrespectful to me is stealing, lying. I can't even say lying
Right.
to some degree, but lying, depending on what you're lying about, because some stuff ain't just for your mother to know, especially when you have sons.
Here's where I am. And they all know it. I'm cool as 10. I'm laid back. And I really don't Because here's what I know as a father. You only gonna hear me but so goddamn much. Life gonna teach you everything you ain't listen to me about. And
That's what I always say.
that's the
Experience
best
is a good
teacher.
teacher.
Listen, the best professor in my life was life. So, like I tell her all the time, stop talking. Let life, because he ain't hearing you. Because at a certain point, when they get a certain age, they cut the faucet off. Like Lamar say, I'm going to cut your water off. They stop listening to parenthood. Because these young kids now, they know everything there is to know. So they think.
But when we were young, and so that's another thing, you gotta remember when you were young. So when we was young, in your 20s, it's just like they just in my business.
Same thing.
Mind your business.
Same thing.
And so you have to give them the
I
same
have
grace
to
that
interject real quick.
Shoot.
My ADHD kicking in. I'm over.
you over it.
I want to get up and get out the camera, but I'm gonna stay in, be an adult and listen.
Okay,
But,
so
I think love after lockup on. But anyway,
I think that
Yeah. But we moving through.
yes, yes,
You
yes.
know. Yeah.
So it is it's just I feel like it's more about how you experience the exchanges or what we like to call the interpersonal relationships
Yeah.
with your family, with your parents. And one of the things that and you and I think we talked about this recently is I think me and Kasim too. When you love your family, you love them. And there is everybody is not the perfect person. And your expectations of them as a person have to go out the window. You have to get rid of the expectations and be able to accept who they are 100% who they
They
are. And
individuals.
so you're not going to agree with everything. It's things that you just don't like about certain family members, whether it be a kid, a parent, a sibling, a grandparent. There are some things that you don't like about them, but you love them. So you love them through those things. You don't say, oh, I can't stand them because this, that. No, you love them. I don't like this about them. And let that be it.
But here's what I'll say, and we can end it with this. It doesn't matter, what's going on. Respect should never go out the window. Period. Point blank.
I feel like the best thing is knowing how to communicate because that's what happens.
But that's what I mean.
People say things, and they feel like because I feel this way, I'm able to say stuff. So
doesn't make
as
you
long
right
as
though.
as long as you are saying it in a tone that's not too harsh and to use your word disrespectful,
Yeah.
then I can handle it.
but it's also like being a teacher or being a DJ. You got to know your audience, right? So you got to know
Exactly.
who you're talking to and how that person receives certain things, and you act accordingly.
Right. And
But
so
with that, excuse me, I'm sorry, but with that, if you don't build a relationship with your kids, and I mean, if you only see your kids as a certain age and then you lose it and that's all you see, you don't get to learn your offspring, then you shouldn't. It's only so much of a conversation you're going to be able to have because you don't know who you're talking to. You understand what I'm saying? Because as a full grown adult male, I don't care, mother, brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, you're going to talk to me in a certain light. Just because you my mother or my father does not mean I'm going to sit up here and let you talk to me crazy.
you know what my mother-in-law told me? She said, you know my son better than I do.
Right.
I know him as a kid. I know I know some of the things that he likes. I know, but you know him. You know my son better than I do. And with that knowledge, it kind of like, oh, I never thought about that. So I'm saying that to say there are things about our adult children that we don't know. And at a certain time in their lives, there are things that are private.
Turn the mic up. Speak,
Yeah, there are
doctor.
things there are things that are private and that they want to keep to themselves, whether it's because they don't want to hurt our feelings, they don't want to seem disrespectful,
Ooh.
or for the biggest thing, I'm going to say this 100 times, yell it over the mountain. Children never want to disappoint their parents. They
Boom.
never want to disappoint their parents, and so there are things that they keep from us that they wouldn't say because they don't want us to know that, something that might hurt our feelings or
Something else I want to say is that
You want a chocolate bar?
no, not that.
Okay. All right.
We feel. I mean, when I say we, I mean collectively.
Yeah.
At what point, when you grow up and start having children and have your own experiences and your way of disciplining or adulting or how you treat your children, and then when you run into a different adult that is not able to see past, or they're stuck in that area where you said where you still see your kids as little, at what point does it go from
excuse me.
the frustration and anger and switch over to um, feeling sorry for this person? Because clearly that person is stuck, right? So do you stay angry at a person because they are unable to grow?
Well,
No.
no,
Because
so
No.
that's
No. No.
what
Here's how I'm gonna answer that. There
I'm
are
gonna answer
just
after him.
there are just some people, regardless of who they are, that you just have to love from afar. Because you should never sit and deal with. I don't care if it's your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother, or her greatest grandmother. You should never sit in a room of disrespect. Period. It's not okay.
what was your answer?
And my answer goes back to what I said before, being able to accept the person for who they are. So if could you imagine having any family member that you just have personality personality differences with? So if I have a personality difference with certain family members, I make those visits short and sweet. I have a couple of family members that I don't, but I make sure that I get to see them,
That's what
get
I'm
to spend time with
saying.
them, because as a family member, you still
Yup.
love them. And,
I,
people
that's
like to
it.
say, "Oh, blood's thicker than water," and all
No.
it. So I have friends that are closer than some family members, and I have some family members that, yeah, the personality differences are there, but our bond is just, our bond is strong because of our background, our blood, and how we grew up. And so I would not neglect those relationships and say, "Oh, I can't be around you. I can't be bothered with you."
I
Well,
got
I just,
some.
I just would love them from afar.
right. You have to protect your peace.
Yes.
You gotta.
So I think so I'm just gonna, and this is the doctor part in me. So when people say protect your peace, when people say trigger, when people say people are narcissists, we all have things that are close to our heart, things that we want to be able to be happy about. Some people, I don't care who they are in your family, your mother, your child, they don't fit there.
Nah.
But where you choose, or they're not able to give that to you, one of the things that I can say is when you're happy with yourself, when someone else is doing something, that's them. That's them. They what they do, how they do it, that's how they are, that's who they are, and you know them, especially at our age, and especially if it's an adult child or mother. We talking you've known them for 30, 50, 70, or however old you are, years. That's who they are. That's how they are. Take it or leave it. I'm
Yeah.
happy, so I'm happy for you. I'm just happy you happy over there.
Yeah.
I'm a
'Cause you,
call. I'm gonna say hi. Make sure you know that I do care about what happens to you. I do care about your
So
health,
that's when they
but
Yeah.
say,
I
"I
don't.
love you, but I don't like
yeah,
you."
exactly.
Right,
I have
If
plenty
right.
of
if
people like that.
because
Yes,
once a
exactly, and that's
person
fine.
shows you who they are, you love them for that. If you can't be in the room with them, but for more than 5 minutes, it is what it is.
Because
Yeah,
we all have our
We,
levels to what we
yeah,
can deal with and what we can't deal with,
yeah,
right? Y'all
and
both know me, right?
yeah,
uh-huh.
I'm very
yeah,
we I don't know if the
yeah.
doctor wants to say different, but I'm very a
Sometime,
little OCD-ish or
yeah.
whatever, right?
You
You
don't like
know
me Monday through Wednesday.
that's true. But you know that if you come to my house and you take a dump in my bathroom, I'm gonna be pissed the fuck off. Like that's just me. Like I feel like you can take that shit somewhere else.
And that would be considered disrespect. But I would think disrespect is making me drive 35 minutes with bubble guts.
No, but I'm saying
Like
that
that's
there are
disrespectful.
certain
It's gonna
things about
flush.
me that just
Here's the thing: you gotta know who you dealing with, man,
exactly, and that's my
and that
point.
comes from communication. If you're not willing to have tough conversations, then you cannot possibly know who you dealing with.
And so I'm not opposed to tough conversations, but I actually think they're useless because you are who you are. You like what you like and you don't.
Mm-mm.
People that like you, that love you, and choose to spend time with you, they get to know who you are, what you like, and then they choose what parts they're gonna present. So I'm going to use this as an example. So I had a girlfriend. I have a bunch of girlfriends. We all grew up together. It's about 10 or 12 of us, and we all most of us still tight. And so one of my girlfriends, sorry y'all, I don't speak to her no more. I love her, but I don't talk to her.
But that's
She
my
acts
point.
funny. But so I'm talking to one of my other girlfriends, and she said, "Well, why do you think she was acting funny? Because this, because this, because this." And I said, I know my girlfriends. I know like we've been friends for a long time. I know this, I know that. I know that I'm a talker, but I'm a talker because I listen, right? I listen. And so we get to talking. And I was telling her something. I said, I know, because I know you come in the house and you do X, Y, and Z. And we laugh like how so bad that her son came in the room and was like, Ma, you too loud. And she was like, Aunt Sharonda said, and how you know me? And she told me, you were right. You were right because and went back to what I said about the friend that was being funny. She said, because I had my invitation weeks ago. And I was like, see? And I know, like, you know your friends and you know, so it's certain people and certain things that I know my sister don't like. Like the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
night,
yeah,
she
yeah.
took the garbage out, and I was like, "So what I'm supposed to do with this?" Because she took it out while I was still doing whatever I was doing. Because I know that if I put it in the garbage, it's going to be a problem, right? And so I'm just not going to do it. But what am I supposed to do with it? And so she just told me what to do with it, so it's not going to offend her. And it's weird to me, but it's her house, so I'm just going to do it.
Here's what
And
I
so that's what I'm saying. You just adjust.
here's what I'm gonna say. You got every right, and I don't give a damn who it's with. You have every right to feel how you feel. You know, just because we share the same bloodlines, don't mean I gotta put up with your bullshit. Just because our mothers might be sisters or cousins or whatever it is, if your spirit interrupts or messes with my spirit, I'm still gonna love you because we're related. We're related. I'm gonna love you, but that don't mean I gotta put up with you. I'm not, because there's nothing about me that's gonna be fake and ungenuine if I just don't like it. I love you, but damn it, I don't like you.
So can I? Are we finishing up? Because
Yeah, we're
if
gonna
I'm gonna
wrap
ask
up.
if I could, so I do.
We're gonna
Just
wrap
want
up.
to say, and and this is a professional slash personal opinion, and I learned this when I was working with children. So what happens is people that feel like they're not being heard always want to remind somebody of how they feel. I
It's
think that the
repetitive.
reason, right, and so you pushing you're still feeling like you being knocked down, knocked down, knocked down. And what so I think that the reason why with I'm okay with listening, and I know that I'm heard, and if you don't want to hear me, that's fine too, because it's usually some gems in there. I do also have ADHD, so I'm not always staying on
Oh my
track.
God.
But
Oh
by the
my
time
God.
I'm but by the time I'm finished, you will get the point. And so with that being said, I just feel like sometimes we push because of what we're missing. We want them to still fill that void. And as adults and adult children and parents of adults, um, you know, I'm not the same little 6 year old that was saying it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Like she did it, but she can't get in trouble. Like we passed there.
So my question to you, from a doctor's standpoint, you just mentioned that when people feel like they're not heard, what do you suggest for the person that's not being heard, whoever they're speaking to? How should they respond to a person who feels like they're not being heard?
Can I answer that?
Well,
No,
it
after she does.
it depends on the person and how they approach the situation, because I be damned if you think I'm gonna sit there and listen to you howling, screaming, cuss in my face about something you didn't like. You're gonna have to take it down 10 notches, then we could talk. As long as you are able to communicate, then I'm fine with a conversation. I'm fine with a conversation, whether I like it,
You
whether
got
I like it or don't like it. I'm always open to a conversation, because I think I may say, and I hate to act like I'm like sitting up on this throne, has nothing to do with my PhD, but I feel like I'm so okay with me that there is very little that someone else can do or say that's going to make me feel like I need I need to react or respond in a
mm-mm.
way that does not suit who I am, or that I would have to apologize for tomorrow. Because if you get me mad enough and I say fuck you, you did something, and that's at that moment, that's exactly how I felt, that's exactly what I
You
meant. And
don't
if you
get the
come
you
back
don't
with
get
it,
the
yeah, and you don't
yeah
get to tell me how to
how I feel.
respond to what you're saying.
No.
And I just always feel like sometimes people want to be heard. So if you are a person that can take it, then you listen. If you're not, then you have to come back to the table when things kind of calm down. And so I'm also going to say I am a person that looks for opportunities. I feel like a lot of conversations need to happen at the right place at the right time. I heard one
It's
time
timing.
before,
Timing.
timing is important. So when you're in a good space and things are going good, that's when you have the more difficult conversations.
Hmm.
And it's not pointing fingers because you did this,
Nah.
you made me feel like you did. Well, this is what I would have liked to have seen.
It's the
And then,
delivery.
right. And so how you deliver it is not pointing a finger at what somebody else is. Basically, it's again, I wasn't seen or I wasn't heard. So this is what I would have liked to have happened, but this is what I got. And I'm just sharing these, things with you now. If we can talk about it, if you could at least understand that it was hurtful or it did
Hmm.
bother me that, you know,
Yeah, and you don't get the you see. Here's where people go wrong. First of all, you heard what I said the first time. You heard what I said.
mhm.
You can act like you didn't, because I'm not a repeater. Secondly, you don't get to dictate the consequence if you take me there.
But we also know
But
that
so as an
sometimes
adult, can't
people
nobody,
listen
it's
to
nobody's
respond
response.
instead of listening to actually
And
understand.
nobody, you can't, you so you can't, especially as an adult, you can't say that somebody else is control of how you respond, because as an adult, unless you put your hands on me, I will laugh at you if you
Right.
say something that I don't agree with
But
and walk away.
here's the
And when
thing.
I'm able to tell you without, coming back the way you are, how I take it, then that's
Here's some solid ass shit. My granddaddy, and I heard him tell my uncle this. Sometimes you gotta take your upper lip and pull it to your bottom lip
mm-hmm.
and shut the fuck up. Because
Uh-oh, what's that?
sometimes we talking
It stopped.
when we should be listening. Because everybody got a point to make.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's called conversation.
right,
Because you give and you take. As uncomfortable as it may be, you got to be able to sit. It's like court. When you go to court and you're on trial and they
right,
put you on the stand, you know it's coming.
right,
You can't get crazy and be like, no, you know what? You got to answer the question.
right.
And unfortunately, we live in a world today when emotions get attached to a statement or a
It went
question.
off.
We want to get indignant. We want to get disrespectful. We want to
Yeah, so when the
get out of
conversation is
character.
not going the way you want it to, you can't tell me that and you walk away from the conversation.
Nah.
You don't go disrespectful and go rogue and do something that's going to land your
Listen,
ass
I'm gonna say
in
this.
jail with a foot in your
I'm gonna say
ass
this
or with a pot
and
upside
then
your head or with, you know what I'm saying?
we can.
Like
I guess I'm gonna say this and we can close.
Uh-huh.
An uncomfortable conversation is just that.
Right.
It's just
But
that.
if it's a
You
conversation,
still gotta
it
love each
shouldn't-
other in the morning.
Yeah.
But you can't grow if you walking around on eggshells.
But you can't have an uncomfortable conversation.
Not disrespectful.
No, you can't have an uncomfortable conversation in an uncomfortable setting.
Right.
The setting makes the difference.
But your setting, everything ain't supposed to be public knowledge, right? So if you're out, you're having a good time, something happened,
mm-hmm.
and you, motherfucker, that's not the time for that.
Well,
and no, because
I'm saying, motherfucker, that's teetering on disrespectful.
Well, you get worked out where you act out. That's old school, right? But in the good world, you be like, oh, okay, bitch. When we get home, we gonna have this motherfucking conversation. See what I'm saying? Since everything ain't for everybody.
Yeah, but if you still angry, the conversation could wait till the morning.
Yeah, but no. Everybody ain't mastered that.
No, well, everybody need to master it if they want to be heard.
I'm trying. I've gotten better.
Yeah.
I've gotten better.
Yeah, but that's something that needs to be mastered.
We Geminis.
But if you want to be heard, then you have to master knowing when.
Yeah, because if you raise your voice at me, I'm probably gonna hook on you.
Yeah.
And some people, when you raise your voice, they shut down.
Yeah.
So we not.
And the shutdown might be for your own safety.
Yeah, because
unfortunately,
if you keep pushing these buttons,
yeah,
then it's like, remember the old school Jack in the Box? Yeah. Whoever pop out, you don't get to say no mas.
Yeah.
Right. So, but anyway, man, listen, man. If y'all like what we talked about tonight,
was a good conversation. We could go on, but we're at almost just about an hour.
And subscribe. Y'all probably like these motherfuckers drinking.
Comment, share, subscribe.
But all some of y'all been through what we talked about tonight.
Yeah, and it's a lot more.
We got more, man. Like and subscribe, man. Holla at us. Who the cat fits?
Let them wear
our guest
it.
Tonight is Dr. Sharonda.
Oh yeah, I'm the special guest. Yes. Hi.
And I'm just that motherfucker. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks for watching.